Hello everyone, you're listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G and you have arrived for a best of episode, and this one specifically is about secrets of Paris. And yes, I should be whispering because there are some outrageous secrets you're about to hear. Secrets of places to find, ways to act, crocodiles to discover. Oh, I've said too much. What I do want to say is that this show is brought to you by French Today. They do audiobooks that will teach you French. I use them, you should use them, and I'll talk a little bit about them at the end of the episode. But if you want to click around right now, frenchtoday.com/earful11, you get a further 10% discount. I also want to say this show is brought to you by the lovely and generous and wonderful Patreon supporters. And if you've never heard of Patreon before, I'm saying this because I've got some interns and they keep telling me, Oliver, you got to promote Patreon. So, patreon.com/The Earful Tower. If you sign up and become a member with a small monthly pledge, you get all kinds of bonus stuff, including pretty exclusive event invites if you're in Paris, or loads of bonus content in the way of podcasts and Paris guides. More about that in a second. This episode today is about hidden Paris, secret Paris, things that you probably haven't heard of before, and we've collected, let me see, 8 or 9 of the secrets from past guests over the past 2.5 years, put them together in one package, and the idea is that if you like what you hear from one of the guests, you can go back and listen to their episode, or you can just walk away with 9 cool secrets from Paris. I'll leave it up to you, but here you go, the Eiffel Tower Secrets of Paris, a best of episode. Let's do it. So, as with last week's episode about sweet Paris or food in Paris, this is a best of. That means no real rules apply. I could start singing. I could start singing right now. I won't, but I could. But the point is, I might read a little bit of Gmail halfway through the episode. Who knows? But I want to get straight into it because the first guest always brings a smile to my face. It's the cocktail queen of Paris, Forrest Collins, and she gets it. She gets the idea when I invited her into the studio in season 3. Episode 10, and I said, can you tell me about some speakeasies? I really should have her on the show again because some new speakeasies have opened in Paris. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, these are hidden bars. And she came on in season 3 to reveal some of the best ones. And this is when I asked her to tell me about one of her favorites. Can you reveal a few to us?
Yes. Okay. Now, I'm going to first talk about probably what was the first hidden bar in Paris. And
can you sorry to interrupt. Mm-hmm. Can you take us on a journey so that we're walking in with you?
Okay.
Paint the picture. And let's say the name at the end, yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well,
and turn it off right now if you don't want to know this.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. If there's anybody who doesn't want to know where the secret bars are, stop right now.
Good.
Okay.
And come back next week. Come back next week.
Yes, definitely come back next week. But in the meantime, those of you who are still here, come with me on a journey to a small taqueria.
What's a taqueria?
A taqueria is a place that serves tacos.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yes. Tacos and Mexican food. And it's sort of around the Metro Fils du Calvaire in a very busy, popular neighborhood with lots of buzzing bars. And let's step into the taqueria and maybe sit up at the counter and order a taco. It's tiny, it's bright, it's white walls. Maybe get a cerveza or something like that, or a frozen margarita. And then once we've gotten something in our stomach, let's walk to the back of this teeny tiny taco joint, step through the door, and behind this completely unmarked white door that you wouldn't even really notice if you didn't know about it is an entirely bigger, different cocktail bar.
Do you need a code word or anything like that?
You don't need a code word. You just need to have the confidence just to push this door.
Yeah.
Sometimes those doors, you think, somebody told me, but you kind of, can be nerve-wracking, because what if it's not really a door?
Yeah.
Then everybody looks at you like, what are you doing, dude? Clearly that's not for you.
It's counterintuitive to push a door that you're not meant to push.
Right.
Or you don't think you're meant to push, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But it's worthwhile in this case. And then once you do it once, then you know, and then you walk through.
Do you go around pushing doors all the time?
I don't, but I know you do, so I'm waiting for you to discover something really,
That's
really
true.
cool.
I do open a lot of doors. Yeah. You got me. Okay, so and then you go in, there's a cocktail bar hidden.
You go in and there's a cocktail bar. Mm-hmm. There's a cocktail bar that's one of the best cocktail bars in the world. It regularly hits the world's best 50 bars, and they specialize in tequila and agave-based spirits. So not just tequila, but you'll probably find some raicilla and some sotol there. And
A lot of words I don't know there.
yeah.
But what's the one drink I should have there?
I would say that Guêpe Verte is their classic cocktail.
Green wasp.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a refreshing but spicy cocktail that was developed for them by a very famous bartender in the U.S. and it's become a modern classic in Paris and inspired many other bars to create similar cocktails.
Okay, and what is the name of this hidden bar?
This hidden bar is called Candelaria.
Candelaria.
Yes.
Tick.
Yes.
Ding.
Ding.
Okay, yeah. And she continued with a handful more speakeasies, the most of which are in my Paris guide. So if you haven't heard about that, it's free for Patreon members. It's going to be on sale real soon, but about 250 things to do in Paris, including a few speakeasies like Candelaria. I've always talked with Forrest about doing some kind of bar crawl in Paris. Maybe it's time to get that going. Forrest, if you're listening, send me an email if you're still in. Now, from speakeasies in Paris, let's take a big jump to when I interviewed the mayor of the Marais. This is way back in season 2, episode 14. I was really excited to meet with Christophe because, he's currently the deputy mayor of Paris. He's moved up in the world, that guy. He was really welcoming and lovely. He took me into his office in the town hall of the 4th arrondissement, and we had a good chat. I was scrolling right back to the start of my Instagram feed the other day, and I saw his sash, the mayoral sash in the corner, and I don't know if I said, "Can I wear it?" or if he said, "You can wear it if you want," but there's a picture of me wearing the mayor sash for some reason. Anyway, at the end of the episode, I said, Monsieur le Maire, can you give me one secret, one thing in Paris, especially in the 4th arrondissement that no one knows about? And this is what he said. What's the best hidden secret of the 4th arrondissement?
It's a passage which I reopened, which was closed.
So that's really hidden.
For centuries.
Oh.
When you go around l'église Saint-Gervais Church, you used to pass it on Rue François Miron and the stairs, and in front of Mairie du 4e. Now you can get on the south side, and when the gate is open, it's closed at night until early morning, it's open, you can go around it. Okay. So it's very beautiful.
So it's like an outdoor hidden...
It was hidden because it was closed.
Yeah, but now anyone
it's
can
open,
just walk
you can
through
walk and it's beautiful.
And that's just down that way by the...
Just down one block.
Okay, great tip. And why do you like it?
Passage du gantelet.
Okay.
Like a gant.
Like a glove. Why do you like it? Because it was
Because it was hidden and closed. And I like to reopen secrets and tight spots.
Well, now you've given away the secret to the show. Everyone will be there.
Good.
There'll be a hipster cafe there before you know it. Well, there you go, Christophe. I shouldn't call him Christophe, really. Monsieur le Maire, Monsieur the Deputy Mayor of Paris. I went to explore, I've mentioned this on the show before, I went to explore that passage several times afterwards. And the first time I went there, I'm not going to say I was let down, but it's one of those things in Paris, you have to use your imagination. You have to think that people haven't been walking there for 500 years. But in reality, it's just a passage. But it depends on how good your imagination is. And for those of you who've ever contacted me about doing a tour of the Marais, you will remember very well this passage because it's the last thing we walked through before we ended the tour. If you're interested in Paris tours, get in touch. But I don't do them so often either, so don't get in touch all at once. Now, on to the next one. One of my favorite guests, fairly recently, season 5, episode 23, Caroline de Maigry. She's a supermodel. There's no denying that. It was a cool story about how I met too. If you're new around here, you won't have heard it. I saw her on the street. I recognized her, and I thought, my God, that's Caroline de Maigry. She's kind of the ultimate Parisienne, if you ask me. She wrote that book, How to Be Parisian Wherever You Are. And I stopped her on the street at a red light, pedestrian red light. We weren't driving. I said, "You're Caroline de Maigry." She said, "Yes, I am." And I said, oh, I'd love to. We got chatting. I said, I'd love to interview her. And she said, boy, you want to do it? We got to do it right now. And I said, what? And she said, we go to a cafe right now. Use your phone. And I said, Caroline, this is going too quickly. And she said, just do it. And we did. And that's why the sound, that's why you can hear the cafe in the background, because we literally walked into a cafe right next door and chatted for half an hour. And it was wonderful. I'd go as far as saying she's become a friend of the show since. She's been on a couple walk shows, I think, and spoiler alert, she'll be back on again soon. So when I was talking to her, we didn't really talk about sort of tangible Paris secrets, although there were a few. It was quite a quick conversation. I'm thinking, for example, the Musée de la Vie Romantique she talked about in one of the interviews. But too quickly, in this one, she gives the secret of how to be a Parisian woman. So it's kind of more of a mystical supermodel secret, and I kind of like it. So have a listen to this. It's zesty. I feel more Parisian already.
Okay. You feel more awake.
So we were talking about how to Parisian. It's not just about style. It's also about the attitude.
It's just the whole consciousness of not having to run after something that's impossible, which is to be perfect. And then it just then your style is going to be different. Everything is going to be different once you're okay with who you are, and just trying to feed yourself with things that are more interesting. Might it be, books, movies, whatever. That's the whole idea of the book.
So do you think? So I've read the book. In fact, I thought
you've read the book.
I've read it, and I bought it as a Christmas present for my wife, Lena, and it was very successful. I know you toured around a lot promoting it. Do you think that resonated with people abroad because they want not the impossible, but they want to be like the Parisians? Or do you think it's more some kind of fantasy myth about people from Paris that is different? Why do people care so much?
I think people care because there is that freedom, and freedom is so exciting, Don't you feel it when you walk in the streets that people are quite, I don't know, I like the fact that here, you take time. I mean, probably in Australia as well. I've never been to Australia, unfortunately.
Not yet.
But I like the fact that, I stopped in a cafe with my friends, and we're gonna rebuild the world for hours, and there's something very poetic about it, and yeah.
It's true. I think, and I think that's probably why a lot of people listen to my show, is because they're very curious about Paris, French people, Parisians, and they, I don't know if they think they can emulate it, or if they just want to, like when it rubs off. If you hang out with someone who you think is really cool and has understood it, if you hang around that person, you hope that it rubs off. And also that's maybe why they come to Paris, to just sort of like, capture that kind of feeling that you're talking about. Do you know?
I think that the pleasure is a strong key as well, and but yeah, I feel that. I feel there is something quite cool and sexy about Paris.
What is it? Explain the sexy part.
Well, the fact that pleasure is one of the key elements of our life. Might it be from food to the pleasure of the arts. I mean, when you walk down the streets, you're amazed at every corner. I'm still amazed every morning when I walk down by the architecture, we have the chance of having the most incredible exhibitions, theater plays, you know what I mean, and
sure.
Food,
the lemon juice is pretty good as well.
And, fashion is incredible. There are a lot of beauty in Paris, and there's a lot of poetry.
And believe it or not, Caroline has a new book coming out really soon. It's called Older, but Better, but Older. What's all that about? It's about aging. I remember you guys, Patreon members who watched my walk show with her through Pigalle, which was quite a fun one. I knew that her book was about aging. I think I kind of got a bit of a scoop on it. From Caroline de Maigret, we have an author, one of my favorite authors in Paris, who I met for the first time fairly recently. In fact, season 6, episode 31, but I enjoyed it so much I decided to put it in the best of. It's David Downey, whose book, Paris, Paris, was in the book club. Now, I posted on Instagram about this book club the other day, and a bunch of you guys were saying, I didn't know there was a book club. Well, 750 other people know. It's all on Facebook. Go and join it. This month is a free-for-all. You can pick whatever you want and just report back. But when I had David Downey on the show, we got nerdy and we talked about a mutual shared interest, which is the Philippe Auguste Wall, an 800-year-old wall that circled Paris once upon a time. And we recorded it just a couple of meters from one of the towers that remain in a secret park in Paris. Here's what happened when I chatted with David Downey about it. All roads usually lead to Rome. I feel like all the roads are leading to the Philippe Auguste or Augustus Wall. Are you also fascinated with this?
Yeah, I think fascination is a nice way to put it. For a long time I was obsessed with it, in part because where I live with my wife, the wall is probably, I don't know, 100 yards, less than 100 yards, meters, whatever, away. I live in the Marais,
right.
And in a very old building that has even older cellars, and I became fascinated with the wall probably, over 30 years ago. I've been here 33 years, and I discovered that this wall still existed by talking to various people and reading books. And then probably 32 years ago, I went into the fire station in the Rue de Sévigné.
Right.
Have you ever been in there?
Well, I went there once for the Bal de Pompiers, the
Right,
fireman's ball.
right.
And then when I was once tracing the wall, I tried to get them to let me in, and they said they wouldn't let me.
30 years ago, they were a little less strict, or maybe it was because my wife was with me, and she was very attractive.
Right.
So they let us go down into the control room that's inside the tower,
Right.
Under street level. And then I started tracing it, and I discovered that the wall is, I'm not sure what percentage of it is there, but more than you would think, and more than anyone will tell you, because it was integrated into the walls of big buildings that were built afterwards.
Sure.
And the whole street pattern of central Paris depends in large part on the wall and where it went, and the roads that were just inside and just outside it.
Right.
And the gates through it, obviously.
Yeah.
And you can still see portions of a few of those, as you know.
Especially down by the basketball court.
Yes.
Which is that's how my fascination started, is I play basketball there.
Oh, okay.
And then
Rue Charlemagne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I used to shoot hoops, and just everyone was sitting against that wall, and one day, I don't know, I think I looked it up on the internet, and that started an obsession.
Well, there you go.
There it is, David Downey. Check out his book, Paris, Paris. It was one of my favorites that I've read in a very long time. Now it's time for a bit of Gmail. What's Gmail, you're probably asking? Well, my last name's G-E-E. People send me mail. I call it Gmail. Quite clever, I thought, although I've been getting feedback from people who say, not that clever, Oliver, get on with it. But Judy Blumenstein writes in from Mountain View, California in the USA. And she says she's a Patreon supporter. So I've been putting out these PDFs recently where all the episodes, including this one, including the past maybe 10 episodes, come with a meaty, I'd say 8 to 10 page guide with everything mentioned in the show, links, addresses, photos, Instagram accounts to follow, everything mentioned. It's a benefit for signing up on Patreon. It's that's how this show exists, through Patreon, so you have to sign up as a member to get them. But I put the last one out and I said, I'm interested in everyone's feedback on these. What are you thinking? And Judy writes, you want feedback? Now there's some caps coming up in this email, so I'm going to raise my voice a bit. Don't worry, it's not bad. She says, you want feedback? The new approaches you are taking and the content you're adding to the Eiffel Tower are truly fantastic. The written information you've added is really stellar. The best of podcast you're adding are well edited and super interesting, even for those of us who've already listened to every one of your podcasts since day one. Wow, Judy, that's amazing. And your interest in making the Eiffel Tower more structured and fine-tuned show your professionalism. I want you to hear it. Here comes the caps. I'm proud of you and happy to be a supporter. She says, bon travail, Oliver. I was about to say, bon travail, Oliver, as if she signed it off like that. No, it's Judy Blumenstein, Patreon supporter. Thank you for your support. And if you guys out there needed more of a reason to sign up, I can't give you one. Now, onwards and upwards. Here we are, the next best of is from season 6, episode 2. It's Emma Jacobs, who wrote a book about the littler museums of Paris, and I asked her to recommend one that we probably don't know about. Here it comes. But going down to smaller museums, shall we start with one from your list and you can walk me through it and then we'll get on with the conversation? Okay, go on then.
So the Museum of Hunting and Nature, or Chasse et la Nature, is, I think, one of just the most unique Paris kind of. It merges the House Museum with about 10 years ago, I want to say. They did a renovation and they sort of rethought it and made it this very whimsical kind of place where there's modern art integrated with the old collection, which is a lot of taxidermy and old oil paintings.
Yeah. And people who would think, hunting's not for me, would you still say get in there and check it out?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is they've created this environment that's not, it's kind of about the hunting in nature, but a lot of it is just about creating this environment that you're walking through, where you'll have like the fox curled up in the chair, right?
Yeah. You know what, that museum, I think there are a handful of museums in Paris with names that aren't very appealing, you know? Like Chasse, what is it? Musée de la Chasse et de la Nature or something?
Yeah.
Like I think people would go, meh.
And I spoke to the director and he said, at this point, so they've had this really dramatic growth in visitorship since he did that. Well, he came in and said, I want to make it more accessible and a more general audience. And I think had to push against the organization a little bit.
So
to do
his renovation 10 years ago was the sort of catalyst, yeah?
Yeah. But so their visitorship has been going up a lot. And he said to me he thinks it's mostly word of mouth. He thinks that's how people find out about it.
Right. That's so cool. That museum is indeed a fun one. I've been in there. The polar bear is particularly fantastic. But from Emma Jacobs in season 6 to David Smith, a courier who came on the show. This secret he told me on the show, he kind of mentioned it in passing, but it's worth a listen and it is absolutely worth a visit. He kind of said it offhand as we were chatting, and I went and found it later and I was bamboozled by its brilliance. You have to go and find this place. You just need the courage to walk in those front doors and the restraint not to take any photos. But here he is, David Smith. Like this job, or you really like cycling, at least around Paris.
Yeah.
You emailed me once to say that you'd found, I can't remember what it was exactly. You'd found some...
Yeah, I think I remember. It was 29 Boulevard Haussmann, and it's I don't know where it's their headquarters, but it's one of the main places for Société Générale, the big bank. And unfortunately, right at the entrance, it says "Don't take any photos," which is a shame because it's like stepping back in time to like the 1920s.
What is it though? I don't know. I've still not been
It's
there.
a little bit like Le Coupole in Galerie Lafayette with the glass like circular. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Gringotts from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
that's a reference I wasn't expecting to say.
You'd be amazed how often Harry Potter comes up in this show, actually. But it's so that's the Goblin Bank where it's okay. Okay, we have two more left. We have the Mayor of Montmartre coming up next. Another recent guest, season 6, episode 27. A lovely guy. He was kind enough to make an appearance at the season finale I did at the Australian Embassy. I was surprised. I was gladdened because if you've heard that episode, you'll hear during the show I said, you should come to my season finale at the Australian Ambassador's house. He said, I'd love to. And what do you know? He was there. Quite a tall guy, I thought. Quite a tall guy standing at the back of the room watching over things. Now, I asked him for his secrets of Montmartre, and I'll let him do the talking. What about I recently ranked Rue des Abbesses as the best street in Paris. What are your thoughts on that?
100% of the streets of the 18th arrondissement are the best.
If you had to pick one to recommend that you had to walk,
I'd say it depends on the period of your life you're in.
We're talking you specifically, Monsieur le Maire.
For me,
yeah. Let me put it this way. They're going to kick you out of the 18th tomorrow. You can never return and you have to walk down just one street. Which would it be?
No, that's a tough question. I wonder if I wouldn't choose the Avenue Junot. Avenue Junot, because it's one of the most beautiful street in Paris.
Just which one is exactly
It's the big one who goes down from the Rue Colincourt and goes up and around the Butte Montmartre.
Yes.
And ends up at the Consulat.
Yep.
And inside this avenue you have some of the most unknown places of Montmartre. You have the Rocher de la Sorcière. I don't know if you've heard about it. If you have to push how do you call that? It's not a door. It's like
a secret. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Okay. So Avenue Junot is the one that goes.
Yeah,
from
and then you have the Villa Léandre with the small houses,
and
then you have all those absolutely beautiful buildings from the 1930s,
and the man stuck in the wall at the top of the street.
And on the top of the street, you have exactly.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree that is a very good street.
Yeah, and but I would maybe also go Rue Mira. You know Rue Mira?
No.
Rue Mira, it's in La Goutte d'Or.
How do you spell Mira?
MyRha.
Okay.
And I would go there because it's probably was 10 years ago one of the worst possible street in the 18th arrondissement, and that says a lot. That says what it is, and was completely transformed, and you have absolutely great new designers who came in, and you have such a and it's. If I go Avenue Junot, it's because it's beautiful, it's preserved, it's calm, it's green and everything. If I go Rue Mira, it's because I would want to see what you can change in a city and what can change in a city. And because in the 18th arrondissement, you have things which must not change because they're landmarks. And then you have all that's moving. And I wonder if I wouldn't prefer to go to, if I had one street, to see what can change in a good way. I could go in lots of places which change not in such a good way, but I would enjoy those.
So there he was, Éric Lejoindre, in the Town Hall of the 18th, which is a really beautiful building. That's a good episode. Go and listen to that one. Now I'm going to finish on one last secret before we get into French today, and it's... well, you may think I'm self-indulgent, but it's a secret I found myself in one of my favorite episodes of the Eiffel Tower. It was when I was doing a season finale back in the second season, so we're talking a couple years ago now. And to give you a bit of context, the episode was going to be a kind of it was going to be like a conspiracy theory episode because I'd seen a beaver swimming in the Canal Saint-Martin. And I wanted to do an episode about whether this beaver really existed. And the episode took a huge turn when I did one last interview of the day with an older woman sitting, looking wistfully over the canal. Now, just to give you a bit of context of this story, this, out of all the stories I think I've done on this show, this is the one that brings me the most joy to see it get legs further on down the line. I'll explain what I mean, maybe afterwards. But yeah, I'll let you hear it first, and then I'll tell you about it. But here is the unnamed lady talking to me the moment she made the big reveal that changed my perspective on the Canal Saint-Martin.
Anyway, I figured I had enough testimonials about this beaver to at least start making a good beaver story. But the last interview of the day changed everything. I found her sitting pensively looking over the canal. She was sitting on a bench right in front of some stickers that someone had stuck onto a green railing, and all three of these stickers said in big letters, "J'existe," which means I exist.
So you're sitting here on the canal,
Yes.
just looking.
Yes, I have an appointment
Okay.
with a doctor, but I prefer to stay before here because I like.
You like to look at the canal.
Yes, and I especially like all the canal, the trees, and that little j'existe.
She had an almost wistful look in her eye, this woman. I started to probe her about the animals in the canal, leading up, as I had with all the other interviews, to whether there was actually a beaver in there. Then, the very next words out of her mouth changed the story, and somehow made a beaver, huge or otherwise, seem so insignificant. And just for the record, while I do have the name of this woman, I've decided not to use it because what she's about to confess is actually illegal and kind of worrying.
Have you ever seen any animals in the canal?
Animals?
Yeah.
Ducks.
Ducks?
That's all.
That's all? Someone told me that there is an enormous beaver, a castor.
Oh, it would be nice.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
But do you think it's possible?
Yes, why not?
Well, a lot of people say it's
I
impossible.
know there is crocodiles. I know.
How do you know that?
I put them.
You put them in there.
But it's a secret.
Is that what you're seeing the doctor about?
Shh. I put 2 of them here.
Did you really?
Yes, it is real.
You honestly put 2 crocodiles
Yes,
into
but
the Canal
little.
Saint-Martin?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
When did you do that?
A year ago.
How big were the crocodiles?
Yes, but I don't know where they are
But
now.
how big were they when you put them
Oh,
in?
very little.
That's about 30 centimeters.
Yes, babies.
Now, I realize how incredulous I sound in this interview with her, but I just couldn't believe my ears, and I was getting an earful.
This woman was saying she'd released 2 crocodiles into a canal in central Paris. The reason I was sounding so disbelieving was because I'd never heard anything like it. I didn't for 1 second believe what she was saying was true. But still, I had about 100 questions.
Everything I threw at her she seemed to have an answer for.
I mean, a crocodile is a very strange thing for a canal.
Yes, but I think they went away.
You think they went away?
Yes, naturally.
Where
for a
did you-
little
where did
travel.
you- where did-
You know, they like to travel.
Where did you release it? Was it here?
No, it was a little over there,
She pointed vaguely in the direction of the locks near the Rue du Faubourg du Temple.
over the bridge.
So tell me about that night. You came with 2 crocodiles in your
Yes.
handbag?
No, I had a special bag.
Yeah.
And with, because they're heavy,
Yeah,
you know.
of course.
And so I put something for the mouth,
Yep.
you know, something.
You closed their mouth so they wouldn't
Yes.
bite you.
They were nice.
They were nice.
But-
And then you took the thing off the mouth before you put them in the
I
water?
put-
You took it off though? Off the mouth.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally, of course. Just making sure. And then they swam away.
Oh, yes, very happy. They even didn't say goodbye.
They didn't say goodbye.
No.
See you later, alligator.
Now, she said she was only available for 5 minutes, but we'd been talking for 15, and she indicated that she really had to go. So I asked her one last question.
How did you first find the crocodiles? Did someone say, hey, come with me, I want to
Because
show
one
you?
time I had a very big problem. I have a basement, and in that basement I have a special things to go inside Paris. You know, égout de
Yeah,
Paris.
the sewers, yeah, the sewers.
Yes.
So your
you
basement
have
connects to
lake,
the sewers.
and after the door for the basement was almost, kaput.
Broken.
And broken. So people from outside, specialists came, and so they told me about rats and things, so I could go with them.
Yeah.
So that's why with
But
lights.
who were they? They were...
From Mairie de Paris.
So the town hall
Yes.
took you with
Yes,
big
but
boots,
there were 5.
5 of them.
There were 5 of them.
And did they saw the crocodile? They showed you the crocodile?
Yes, and rats. That was.
So if I call the Marie de Paris...
Yes, yes, you have the proof.
That's the proof.
In short, the woman told me that after a problem with the doorway connecting her basement to the sewers, 5 town hall workers not only led her into the sewer, but pointed out the various animals living down there, including crocodiles. This was at her home in the Marais district of Paris, where she said that the workers, who were wearing thigh-high rubber boots, decided to let her take 2 baby crocodiles home with her. Again, it's clear in my voice that I had my doubts, but how could I have expected she'd tell me this? When I asked her later why she told me, she just said, because you asked. It just didn't make sense. Nothing seemed very clear. But one thing was clear. I had to take it to the top. So yeah, there you go. I love that story. 2 crocodiles in the Canal Saint-Martin. Who knows if it's real? I believe it. What I mentioned before about that story getting extra legs, for example, I know tour guides in Paris who go past the canal and tell that story. John Baxter, the author, wrote that into his most recent book, A Year in Paris. Recently, The Guardian, the newspaper in England, linked to that story in a story about Paris. And I don't know, it's just cool. I love the idea that there are stories in Paris that remain untold. We all know the million other stories that we've all heard 2,000 times before. How about that? It's a new one, The Crocodile in the Canal Saint-Martin. That's it for the best of. Before I get into French today, I just want to make one final call. If you've been enjoying it, this show here is free. If you've been enjoying it, you want to get a bit more out of it, you can sign up from as little as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Eiffel Tower. Open up a world of benefits. But the other thing you can do is you can check out French Today, which is a company based in Brittany. Camille and her husband Olivier, they're friends of the show. Camille's on it every single month. I've stayed with them in Brittany when I did my honeymoon trip around the country. And what they do is they teach you French via their own method. It's kind of skip all the boring stuff and get into the things that you need to speak the language. And typically what I do at the end of the episode is I read a bit from their audiobooks, or I talk about them, or I convince you to try and sign up. They're the sponsor of the show, and I know a lot of you have signed up. But before I speak about them now, remember, FrenchToday.com/earful11 for that extra 10%. And as I look at their site as we speak, they have a Veterans Day sale on, 20% off all audiobooks, ends November 15th. That means 30% for you if you follow that link that I just said. I've subscribed to Camille's newsletter, and I got one through from her this week that I thought made a perfect match for the end of this episode. And I don't think I've talked about how they do this before on the show, and I think you'd quite like it. They do kind of blog posts. So the email went to a blog post, and it was called Promenade à Montmartre, like a walk in Montmartre, and it's just easy French practice. So if you want a taste of how everything works over there, you should check this out, because I think it's quite cool. So this story, it's like you practice your French, is what they've written. Practice your French and discover Montmartre with this bilingual English-French story written in easy French, which is kind of the same idea for most of Camille's emails. She writes them in French, you can see them in English. But what I really liked about this is, so it starts off in French, welcome to Montmartre, with a whole paragraph talking about the hill and everything you can find. And then they've got this floating blue icon at the bottom right of the page, where if you click on it, it hides or reveals the English translations on the page. So you scroll down a little bit and it says, Aujourd'hui, j'ai décidé de vous emmener dans un petit coin de Paris, bien connu et aimé de tous les touristes et les Parisiens pareillement. I wonder how my pronunciation was there, Camille. But then I clicked the little cheeky button there, and it says, Today, I've decided to take you to a little area of Paris very well known and loved by all the tourists and Parisians alike. And then you go down a little bit further, and there's the vocabulary, words about Montmartre in this case. You go down a little bit further, there's words about how it's a village, there's words about the wine harvest, and this is exactly what French Today is like if you get into their community. If you sign up to their newsletter, you get sort of easy introduction to French, and then hopefully you take it to the next level, sign up on the audiobooks, and repeat until you're speaking French like Gérard Depardieu, or whoever else you might want to speak like. But that was just a little intro to them there. Highly recommend you check them out. FrenchToday.com/earful11. Camille will be on the show very soon. We've already recorded the episode, but I'm going to leave you now. Secrets of Paris. Keep it in your mind next time you're walking around, maybe with earbuds in, listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast, or French Today audiobooks perhaps. I'll see you next week. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.